So now let's shift our focus back to a topic that is increasingly shaping the way organizations succeed. In today's high-pressure environment, the ability to recover, adapt, and maintain well-being is not just a personal skill, it's a critical business advantage. Resilient teams are more creative, collaborative, and equipped to navigate change with confidence. In our next session, Strengthening Employee Resilience, a key to personal and workplace success, our panelists will share insights, strategies, and real-world examples of how leaders can support their people in staying strong, adaptable, and engaged. So we already have Chris Lewis, President, Lighthouse Leadership Services, Inc., on the stage. Thank you for presenting that award. But please join me in welcoming our moderator, Kevin MacRitchie, CEO, President, and Chairman of Tactical Rehabilitation and Brilliant Health Solutions, and our panelist, Dr. Heather Walker, PhD, CEO of Lead with Levity. We have Chris Lewis, and we have Dr. Khai Wynn, mental fitness coach at Invisible Wins. We have Oak Arias, CEO of Navigating Resilience, and Beth Ryan, Executive Director and founder of Stepping Forward LA. So let's give them a round of applause as they guide us through these vital conversations about creating stronger teams and thriving workplaces. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Opportunity to be here. Again, my name is Kevin MacRitchie. I'll be your moderator today. And as we start, we're going to start a little bit differently than maybe some of your other panels have. On my right, I'd like to introduce Oak. Oak, if you'd introduce yourself first and then your company, and then everybody will understand why I'm going to ask you to define resiliency for us.
Sure. All right. So my name is Oak Arias. I'm the CEO and founder of Navigating Resilience Company. And that is probably why I'm being asked to define resilience.
You catch on quick, Oak.
I'm trying, It's that new vitamin B. All right. So we talk a lot about resilience. We have so many different definitions of resilience, but they all center around being able to bounce back, right? We've heard this before. Resilience is like bamboo. You don't break in the storm, you bend. I will challenge that and say that is not our company's definition of resilience. Our company's definition of resilience is being able to move forward successfully through an event and continue to proceed towards your goal. Not that you are like bamboo and bend and return to baseline, but that you are like, for lack of a better term, a tree with a high biomass number, which, by the way, oak trees have a high biomass number. I am not fat.
Interesting
but
to know.
their limbs, oftentimes in storms, will begin to dip to the ground, and they won't completely break off the trunk, but they will get pretty close. When that storm is over, new shoots from that same trunk grow up towards the sun and bring that trunk, or bring that heavy part of the limb back up off the ground. That is resilience. It's taking the event, it's taking the crisis, it's taking the tragedy, it's taking whatever happens and integrating it into how you're going to continue going forward. So that is resilience.
Thank you.
Sure.
Very much. So today, as you may be looking at your syllabus and your agenda, we're going to be talking about resilience both on the personal side and the workplace side for our personnel and our employees. So as we go around the panel, we're going to keep that in mind as part of the discussion. And some things that we're going to talk about are employee retention, understanding that personal and space and workplace environments and how impactful they are to the success of that resiliency, costs of retention of employees, and how important it is to set some high but achievable goals so that we create a workplace that's fun and enjoyable for that retention and the resiliency is defined. So Chris, let's start with you. Just a little background on you. Maybe we'll do 45 seconds approximately for everybody. That would be great.
Yeah, my name's Chris Lewis, and I'm the president of what's called Lighthouse Leadership Services in Canada, Toronto, Canada. I'm a retired police chief of 36 years in policing in Canada, and of course experienced the good and the bad of leadership over those years, and subsequently wrote a book on leadership, and there's a whole chapter in that book on resiliency. And I have very strong feelings about the importance of resiliency, including among the leaders that have to be strong as well to keep their employees strong and supported.
Awesome, thank you. And I'll go last, so Heather, over to you.
I am so excited to be here with all of you today. My name is Dr. Heather Walker. I'm an organizational psychologist, and I'm coming to you from Austin, Texas. Yay.
Yay.
And yay. We can celebrate that. Yes. And I've dedicated my career to helping organizations create strong people systems. You know, if you have a strong group of people, if you have a strong culture, you can get through almost anything. And we saw that during COVID. We've seen that during various crises. And so that's something that I focus on and I've dedicated my career to.
Thank you, Heather. Khai?
That's amazing. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Khai Wayne. I'm from New Jersey, and see, nobody wants to celebrate that. Woo, yes, my people over there. I'm a neuroscientist, data scientist, and now it all comes back to one circle. Now I help organizational leaders and team members to help them become more aware of their chronic stress pattern, to be able to regulate their nervous system, because we all want high-performing teams, right? And you know what high-performing teams are made up of? The brains. And you need to make sure that the brain has proper recovery built in. So that's what I do at Invisible Wings. I'll pass it over to Oaks.
All right.
Awesome, thank you. Beth, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sorry,
So, as you know, my name is Oak. I'm with I had to think for a minute. I'm with Navigating Resilience Company. I work in crisis response, rescue, management, mitigation. On the individual level, I work with folks in processing their trauma after they've come through something and they actually find something that's stuck and it becomes trauma. I gave a keynote earlier this week on medical trauma in the healthcare conference. But in the B2B space, I work with companies and leaders on their business continuity plans and disaster recovery. We stress test those plans, and then we go into working with individual executives so that they are regulated, so that they know what their role is in a crisis when they're not in a crisis. And our goal is to plug revenue leaks so that their attrition rates drop, their organizational health scores increase, because all of that affects your bottom line. And then the shareholders stop yelling at them. And so does their CEO if they're like, you know, a senior director or something.
Awesome, thank you, Oak. Beth?
Hi, everybody. My name is Beth Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of Stepping Forward LA. We live and breathe with resilience. Our clients are foster care that are aging out of the system. The definition also of resilience is somebody experiencing trauma, adversity, consistent stress. That is a foster youth, and they come to us not in woe is me or victim mode, but they come in survival mode, and they really want to help others survive. And so we get to witness resilience every single day.
Awesome, thank you. And again, my name is Kevin MacRitchie. I'm the CEO of both Tactical Rehabilitation as well as Brilliant Health Solutions. At Tactical, our focus is almost exclusively military. We have been the military's #1 healthcare provider for the last 5 years in a row. And in 2023, America's best place to work. Proud of both of those and our team. Sheena, I'd like to recognize you since you're sitting behind the lights again, and I can barely see you, but I know you're here somewhere. But I do see you out there. And I'd like to introduce my business partner out there, Karen Lyons, our Executive Vice President of both companies as well. On Brilliant Health Solutions, we are the leading provider of biomechanical orthotics and other biomechanical solutions as well. So thanks for having me here as well. Chris, I'd like to start with you.
Sure.
All right. Let's talk about the cost of employee change. And when we think about it, the change in employees is if we lose employees, what does it take to get employees back up? What are the strategies also that we can employ to retain employees, knowing that that's usually our #1 cost to the business of bringing new employees on and that ebb and flow of employees?
Absolutely, and I think it all comes down to leadership. When you look at my background in police organizations and surveys that have been conducted in many corporations across North America, employees often leave because they're just not happy working there. It's not always about salary, it's not always about benefits or pension plans. It's about going to work and feeling supported and valued, and knowing that the boss can actually connect with them, knows who they are, and is there for them when they need the support. So retention is incredibly important, obviously, because for every employee you lose, you end up paying someone to replace them. Often you're paying two people at once, one to do the old job, one to do the new job. You lose that expertise, you lose part of that community culture, and ultimately it impacts those that are there, and it impacts the potential for recruits when they hear that it's not a good place to work. The last person that left quit because they hate the place. And with social media out there, it's pretty easy to communicate the pros and cons of any organization. So leading to support people and keep people on side is so critical to the organization, not just the cost, but the loss of good personnel that may impact you for many years to come in terms of recruiting.
Thanks, Chris. And you don't know it, I've worked for the Sheriff's Department the last 16 years, so.
I do know that,
Oh, you
actually.
do
I know a lot about you.
Google will tell a lot, I presume. So we think a lot alike in many of those areas. Heather, what are your thoughts on employee retention and resiliency and the importance of that? What are some of the things we need to do to kind of avoid those otherwise very expensive costs of that ebb and flow of employee change?
Oh, that's a heavy question, really.
I can make it lighter for you if you'd like.
Right. So
You're the psychologist.
This is true. This is true. I'd like to agree with what Chris said, and I want to add to it. One thing that we don't always think about is people, they join an organization, but they often leave their supervisor, their manager. They come in and they see this company with a vision, with a mission, with a benefits package, and they get really excited about those things. And then they get into the team and they work directly one-on-one with their manager, and they start to make a decision about, am I going to continue to engage here? Is this the kind of place that actually aligns with what they say on the website, you know? And so because of that, as leaders, as managers, you have a disproportionate impact on every single person on your team. And you can set the tone for whether or not they decide to stay or go. And most of them make that decision within 90 days.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's move on to another area, and that is employee retention strategies. And Khai, if you could talk a little bit about differentiating the personal and workplace, just so we can set some framework around that. And then I'll ask for some input from a few others as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, let me ask the room first. Have you ever felt fine in the moment while you're at work, whatever, doing your thing? And the next thing, when you get home, you realize that you're already exhausted. Or at the end of the week, you didn't even realize what you've been doing. Because sometimes as leaders and as team members, feel like we're running around like headless chicken, and excuse my analogy, right? Because we are always going after that urgency, then we forget what our North Star is. We're just doing so many different things that other things are just falling through the crack. So to me, Kevin, there isn't a separate needs when it comes to personal versus workplace. There are three different pillars that I want all of us to focus on. 3 C's. Number one is capacity. And I'm a neuroscientist, and so it's all about our brain, mental, and actually cellular energy, right? Capacity. Do I have enough emotional and mental bandwidth to function well today? Because after you leave work, you still have to face your other life at home or wherever you are, right? So capacity. The next one is going to be connection, right? Going back to what you're talking about, is there an alignment between what the organization say as opposed to how they present themselves when it comes to connecting with your team members, connecting with other colleagues, right? It doesn't matter. Leaders are the one without the role title. You don't need to have an actual VP or any other role title to call yourself a leader. I used to be a team member, but I lead people, right? There is that huge difference. When you feel your purpose, you start to realize your purpose is the one what's driving the production, not your paycheck. So the connection of asking that question of, do I feel like I matter here? Because whether you like it or not, and this gentleman sitting here too, we all want to feel we belong somewhere, right? I mean, maybe, sorry to pick on you, but we all want to feel like we are a part of the group. And so, it doesn't matter whether you're on a team or outside the workplace. We all want to feel like we belong. So that's connection. And the last one that Kevin's also going to touch on, which he is a great example of what he is doing with his team, is clarity, setting the expectations right off from the bat so that the team members doesn't need to guess, what am I doing here? What's the success criteria look like? Right? Giving them the tools that they need so that they know how to execute, as well as providing the tools and the resources and the support that you need. So that's from the personal. But then workplace, we as leaders, we as team members need to be more outspoken, more supportive to the people around us to provide that, what's the first say? Capacity. Right? So that our team members aren't just in constant overload. And we're feeling like there's that psychological safety, a sense of connection. And then, yes, I know why I come to work today, because I'm here to make an impact for the people over at military or the veterans or whatever that I do. Because no matter how minuscule my role is as a team member, I know that I'm going to be making a huge difference to the organizational role. So that's like the disconnect that I've been seeing in many different organizations. We don't trickle down that passion to the people who are doing the actual grunt work.
I can feel the passion right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm passionate. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. Beth, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, we very similarly, we have core values that we go over with our staff every single year, and 82% of our staff are former foster. It's just Pat, who is part of our team, our community.
Welcome, Pat.
That's great.
Yes. Without him, I would not be here, and we would not be able to expand and do as much as we do. But 82% of our staff are former foster, and we come up with core values, and the core values are connection, community, communication, collaboration, creativity, which is really important when somebody ages out of the system, that they feel like they're seen and heard, and trust. And so, we really live and breathe and, enjoy those core values as a team, and we come up with them together, and it's what fuels us every single day to do the work, and they are supporting their peers that are coming behind them. Their peers that are coming behind them are learning and seeing very clear examples of success and what that looks like. And again, Pat and I just get to be along for the ride, which is pretty fun to work alongside them. But yeah, definitely, I could feel her passion over here, Heather, too. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Beth. You had a comment, Heather? Good.
Yes, so I just want to say I attended your session earlier this week, and it is very clear that you're spending a lot of time to understand what's going on at the frontline level, and you're making sure that you are keeping those values alive. That's very, very clear. It's not something that is as common as it should be. And that's something that I would like to talk about for just a moment, if it's okay.
Absolutely.
How do you create a fragile system as opposed to a resilient system? Because we're here today to figure out how can we make sure that our employees are resilient, right? But if we're not careful, we could create a very fragile system. And let me give you an example of this. I'll bring it super duper home. Okay, so back in 2010, I came to Las Vegas to get certified in the Hogan Leadership Assessment Suite. And I stayed at the Vidara, and it was right after they opened, and I was in my late 20s, and I felt like, oh, I've made it. This is heaven. This is heaven of hotels. This is nice. And I thought, one day I'm going to come back to this hotel. And fast forward, it's 2026, And I decided I'm going to stay at the Vidara. I'm doing it. And I have to admit to you all, they're not paying me. I am their customer. I am super disappointed. I was incredibly disappointed with the experience. Everywhere I looked, there were signs of deferred maintenance. Shades had holes in them, drawers did not work, the wood had scratches all over it, and there was a tablet that was supposed to be in the room, but guess what? It was missing.
Tablet?
A tablet, yeah, the room had a tablet. Apparently, it'll cost you $500 if you take it, and it's gone. So there were signs of deferred maintenance all over the space. But guess what? The concierge, the cleaning crew, the people at the front desk, the people have such amazing hearts. The service is quality service. They're doing the absolute best that they can to prop up a broken system. A system that was amazing when it launched, and leaders said, yes, mwah, this is a good thing. And then they continued to move forward. They did not go back to say, wait a second, what can we do to ensure that this is still working, that it's still running correctly? So you have people who are propping up a broken system, and what do you do when you start to feel like your leaders are not paying attention to those details? They're not paying attention to you. They're not giving you the resources that you need to do your job. We get hardened. We start to say, well, they don't care. If they don't care, I'm not going to care. That is how you build a fragile system. And one way that you can, as leaders, you can correct for this with something as simple as process mapping and getting everyone together in a room, looking at your most painful process and saying, hey, everyone who touches this, let's get some sticky notes out, let's map this out end to end, let's see where the bottlenecks are and where the issues are, and let's start to identify opportunities to make this process better, to make this experience better. We are, after all, at the CXO conference. So our goal is to find ways to make the employee experience better as well as the customer experience. So I wanted to add that to the discussion because I just want to make it real. There are ways that we don't even realize how, 16 years later, I would think that there would be some maintenance. I would think that they would go back and say, wait a second, let's make sure that we're okay. We're not going to leave our people to try and prop this thing up all by themselves.
Can I add to that?
Go ahead, O.
So a lot of the work that I do in crisis response works with first responders. And as we know, city budgets are tight, right? You don't always get that new ambulance. You don't get that new fire truck. Maybe Kevin and Chris, you don't get the new police cars.
I do police horses.
Well, that's a benefit. You do horses, so you get your own. You do you, man. But
people actually like it when we roll up on horseback.
Exactly,
Nobody
right?
likes it when somebody shows up in a car.
Can I pet the horse? No, just drop everything. Just pet the horse.
Sure.
But yeah, so one of the things I want to challenge everyone in this room with regard to what she was just saying was this. I hear leaders all the time when I'm asked to come in and do assessments. Well, we have financial constraints. Okay. It's good that you know that. It's good that you understand you have financial constraints. Why did you bring me in? Well, our bottom line is not doing so well and our shareholders are mad. Mm-hmm. Right. You have financial constraints. That's not an excuse. That is never an excuse to not see or listen to your line level employees who are propping up the system. Just because you can't get that new box, the new ambulance, the new fire truck, the system is broken. There may be vehicles that are broken, but the system, your folks are telling you your systems are broken. Your systems are where the crisis exists. Mm-hmm. And it's within those systems that you can become resilient as a business, because in building and in process mapping and in rebuilding those systems to be resilient, to be able to handle those ebbs and flows, your employees see that you see them. Mm-hmm. And you've just built psychological safety, or the start of that. And you've reduced apathy in your employees. You've increased connection with the end result, and you've probably increased their capacity because now they see that their leaders care about them because their leaders are sitting at the same table they are to figure out what's going on. They finally heard them. Watch your OHS or employee engagement scores go up after that.
Awesome, thank you. We have about 12 or 13 minutes left. We're going to try to cover a couple different areas quick, so we'll do some lightning rounds. So, Chris,
Yes.
coming to you. Let's talk about, we've talked a lot about leadership, employee morale, those sort of things. What's the role of HR? And then what's the role of leadership in motivating the company and bringing this resiliency concept into light?
I personally think that HR, the Human Resources Division or whatever of any organization, has a supporting role in terms of ensuring the proper programs are in place to help people, to support them through a variety of instances that bring people down, whether it's their physical health, their emotional health, family issues, financial issues, whatever. HR should have the programs in place, communicate them well, maintain integrity and confidence and trust in those programs so people feel that their information is safe with the HR folks or the programs that they oversee. So they have to provide all of that, but it still requires strong leadership to really encourage people to use those programs. It requires trusting leadership that people feel confident they can go to and say, I'm having a problem. Or their leaders know them well enough to know that I've been watching her come in this office every day and said good morning to her for 10 years. She's not herself. And then opening the door to saying, you okay? Let's have a coffee. Something's up. I know you, and you're not yourself. And then steering them into those programs that HR has developed. I'm thinking as everybody's speaking here, just looking out in this room right now and looking into different sets of eyes, I know very few people in this room. But there's people in this room that have problems. They've got aging parents, they've got kids with problems, they've got financial issues, they're unhappy in their employment. Maybe they've been through traumatic situations in their life that still trouble them. There's a story behind every set of eyes. And if I asked any of you, and some of you have those problems, to sit down and tell somebody or somebody about that story, that may involve very intimate details of life and trauma, would you pick someone that you like and trust and that you feel confident would support you and cares about you, a real leader, or would you pick somebody you don't like or trust? It's pretty obvious. You're not going to go forward to people that you don't have confidence that are going to support you and look after your best interests in a confidential way. So the HR provides the programs, the leaders have to lead and be that person that people will want to come forward to and have the ability to notice change in people and say, come here, let's have a coffee, something's going on. Does that make sense?
Awesome. No, that's awesome. And so as police chief, which is this very big leadership role, how did you leverage your HR team to support your leadership?
Well, actually, there was a real fractured relationship with our senior leadership in HR for years. And my wife ended up taking over HR at one point, and she was frustrated with it and tried to make change because they were really a bottleneck as opposed to a supporting mechanism. And so the leadership and the HR team have to work as a big team in sync and look after the best interests of employees. So the programs need to be there. They need to be, people have to have trust in them and know they exist, know how to access them. Leaders have to help build that trust to steer them into those programs. And so it should be a big team, not two separate entities working at opposite ends of doing what's right.
Awesome. Critical that all functions work together as a team, certainly leadership and HR. Oak, you had some interesting thoughts, and we had a great diversity, and we won't get to everybody on every one of the remaining topics, but if you don't mind commenting for maybe a minute or so on HR and the leadership companionship role.
Yeah, so first, anybody in the room with HR? I want to make sure. You're with HR. Okay. You were once upon a time. That's a story. There's something going on there. So we know, Chris mentioned earlier, when you replace an employee because they either attrit of their own volition or let's say they're terminated for whatever reason, depending on the level of that employee, it takes anywhere from 50% to 200% of their salary to replace them. And Chris mentioned earlier about the workload in the meantime taken on by the rest of the team while you're searching for the right talent to fill that role. So one thing I think that a lot of, especially this is with the employees, get a little bit confused on is HR is my friend. HR is there for the employees. And I have to challenge this over and over. HR is not your friend. HR doesn't work for you. HR works for the company. HR is there to protect the company. And so the leaders are there to work for the company and protect the company. So that accompanying role that Chris was mentioning is vital. It's critical. It cannot be a combative role. If it's a combative role, everybody loses, from the line level employees to the executives, the shareholders, and the customers. So I think it's really, really important that if you are a leader in a mid-management role or a director role or a supervisor role, that when employees say, oh, I'll just go to HR because they're my friend. I had someone that I knew a long time ago who said, oh, the director of HR is my next door neighbor. We go out to eat all the time. We have coffee. We do all this stuff together. I told them how I was feeling about work, and I was like, you what? And like, oh, it's in our personal time. They're not going to tell anybody. And I'm like, oh my, yeah, okay. And they did, right? Because they're there, always on, because they work for the company. They have to report things. When you have a medical device and it fails, and let's say you're just a salesperson, but you find out that company's medical device fails, you have a legal requirement to report that failure. It's really important that folks know HR is there to protect the company, and employees can play part in that because they can help report crises, they can report red flags early, to show that systems are breaking or something's going awry or customers are not happy or their peers are not happy. But leaders and HR together working side by side will help create that psychological safety in the business where employees can report those things, even if someone has a punitive leadership style, but not everybody.
Awesome, thank you. We're going to cover one more topic in the few minutes we have left, and then I'll make some summary points from all the comments today. So AI is a big topic. I think I've been in every room I've been in. Somebody's either topic's been around it or somebody's brought it up as 25% or more of their conversation, right? So let's talk about AI on employee resiliency and the mindset that goes with, am I being replaced? Because it's very different than automation in the 17, 18, 19. We've had automation since time began, right? So we've always automating something. So Heather, I'll start with you, and Khai, I'll come to you next. What's the mental impact on that, and what do we see employees, especially where AI is becoming prevalent, are we seeing a move away from that, or are we seeing employees embrace that, and how do we incorporate that in a way to retain employees?
I've seen a little bit of everything. And with the general population, the civilians, they don't care very much about AI. They're not super users of the tool necessarily. But when I speak to my colleagues, and I have worked in HR for quite a few years, specifically in learning and development, and I connect with them because I'm curious, like, what are you doing with AI? And my hope for them is that the tool will help them finally get to a place where they can do the strategic work that their function demands and requires right now. Because oftentimes when you're working in a function, a service support type function, you have requests coming in from all different directions, and you don't have time. You just don't have time to do the meaningful kinds of work that you want to do. And these tools can assist with that. They can assist with thought partnership and all of that. What I would say to someone who says, you know what, I'm opting out of AI. Here's my public service announcement to you. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. We don't know what it's going to look like by the end of this year, but it is not going anywhere. I don't know if AI is going to take your job, but what I do know is the person who knows how to use it may take your job. They may get preference over you if you haven't taken the time to learn the tools. If you haven't, it's just like when PowerPoint came out, you know, that it did come out before me, so I'm not dating myself, y'all. But the people who don't take the time to learn to use the tools at their disposal are going to be at a disadvantage. So I would encourage you to take the time to learn now while it's relatively safe to learn some of these things, while it's still cutting edge, so that you can at least be knowledgeable. You can at least know what is available to you.
Khai, in 60 seconds, your thoughts? Maybe 75?
So just the thought of thinking about, will AI take my job? Will AI take my job? And you come to work thinking about that, and then you go into with this mindset of, oh, I'm going to be replaced anyway. Can you imagine what it does to your mental energy, right? And anything you do. Because over time, what happens to your brain is it produces chronic cortisols, which then impact not only your memory, but your overall mental well-being and the highest level of performance that you need. And so, to Heather's point, don't worry about if AI is going to take your job. You, me, we as individuals are the creator. You know, AI is created based on all our data, and we created AI. We have that thinking brain. AI doesn't. So it's more important now than ever to go back to develop that more critical thinking skill, because that's what makes us human, the connection, the thinking. I would focus on that.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to just take about 60 seconds and try to summarize a few key points that I heard from everybody today. First of which, so I'm going to summarize some of them in your exact words, and some of them I'll rephrase them. Capacity, connection, clarity, communication, trust. I think if you can align those with your vision, mission, purpose, you can bring a workforce together in ways maybe that you may not have thought in the past. And if all of you are aligned on that same set of principles, a lot of the other things we talked about will flow much easier, and you'll have a passionate workforce, create a resilient workforce. Two, harnessing the event for success for the future. That's about resilience in general, right? Oak, that was right straight from you. I think that's important as we think about, we're always going to run into obstacles, we're always going to have to make decisions. Things happen. I always say it's not that it happened, it's how we deal with that, right? So taking that forward, making that a success somewhere down the road. In general, the conversation talked about, and Heather, you sort of led this, personal and workspaces personal space and workplaces are blending together. And so setting that time and setting yourself so you can create that mental break between the two. I know if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. And as much as I like to go horse riding almost every day, if it's not on my calendar and blocked, I won't. I will also say that one of the biggest things I ever learned from my personal coaches is if you don't get away from the constant interruption, your brain synapses cannot link together. And my best ideas, oddly enough, come when I'm on horseback, but they're all the things from every 15 or 30 or 45-minute meeting all day long, connecting them together, because your brain finally gets the ability to relax and bring those synapses together. Constantly reevaluate and course correct. Hugely important. Again, kind of going back to the second point, making those things happen, but in a little bit different way. From Chris, notice your people. Notice when something's off, and that could be positive or negative, because if something's off in a great way, how do we then regenerate that in other areas? But if something's off in a negative way, how do you help them get back on track? Because that negativity goes faster through the organization than positivity does, as we all know. And then from an AI perspective, kind of what I got from what you said is, let AI be the employee's employee, so that they can move up strategically and build that knowledge set and be successful.
I think there's a very old adage, your attitude determines your altitude. And I think it applies to this as well. If you come in with the attitude that this sucks, my job is gone, I don't know how long I'm going to last, they're going to get rid of me tomorrow, you're going to carry that energy everywhere. It's going to show. Your work is not going to be the best work possible. And the person who is bringing their A game and is still bringing that positive energy and finding a way to make it work will win.
Awesome. Panel, thank you. I know we're out of time. Thank you, audience, for being here and taking the time with us. Enjoy the rest of your conference.